But yeah, hello everybody and welcome back to another game, not another game, but another patch rundown. Patch 6.1 was released and we're gonna take a look at it. It's not that huge of a patch, but there are a couple of new Pokemon and some interesting and nice changes. So let's get into it. So first of all, there are some changes to Pokemon. First change is the pool size for common units went from 29 to 27. So reroll comes for 1-cost units, so common units are 1-cost units. So reroll 1 cost will be less consistent. So Alolan Raichu or Raichu comes, you will see them less, or Water Hyper Roll or something. They may be worse. So you have to be a bit more lucky to hit your units on time. Which is a nice nerf. Because Hyper Roll comms, 1-cost Hyper Roll comms were too dominant in the last few patches, and it's a good thing they adjusted this consistency. Alcremie now consumes its flavor when evolving, so it doesn't lose its item slot anymore. I think the flavor was still on Alcremie, so it only has 2 item slots. And if you want to use the chef set on it, so you only had 1 item slot, and that was bad. So that was changed. So Alcremie is better now. Starly is now a common regional unit Pokemon instead of Edge Pokemon. Because Pidgey is now also a regional. And Starly, Pidgey, and Pidove share the same slot. And you get one of those 3 depending on your region. So that's interesting and nice. I think it's pretty nice to see the starter flying Pokemons, like the first routes starter flying Pokemons, be in different regions, so you can have feels like in the games. So you join to another region, you get another of the flying Pokemons, the normal flying. That's pretty nice. Fide Away, the ability of Veluza was changed. It's not 50% of current health that you sacrifice, it's 50% of max HP that you sacrifice. But now you also flee away with a 400 millisecond protect status, and the PP was increased. So Veluza was very weird and not that good. People didn't like playing it. Maybe this change will make it better. I don't know. But probably it will still be a niche unique. But we will see. And then the thing most people are stoked about is Pichu gets nerfed again. So it has way less damage. Like from 120 to 80 is way less damage. So Raichu will be way worse than it was before. As well Alolan Raichu, but I think Alolan Raichu is still pretty decent because of other things. But we will come back to that later on. And also, yeah, exactly. The Wildlands build on Veluza is now worse because of the ability change, because it flees. So next thing, Blastoise gets buffed a little bit. The nerfs on Blastoise, was it last patch or the patch before, were maybe a bit too mean to it. So it gets like a little bit of attack, so it can be a free range attacking water unit, which you can build AD on. Or at least it feels better to build AD on and make it a bit tankier. Outrage, the ability of Exu and Dradagon, gets a significant buff. I mean, plus 50% on everything. That's very nice. Maybe these 2 units, like especially Dradagon. Maybe Dradagon is now a unique you will pick. I'll be not like too upset to have to pick. anymore in like Wild or Dragon, and also maybe Monster, I think. Nerf Tapu Koko, it's now a 2-range unit and it excludes itself from its effect. So that's a significant nerf to Tapu Koko, because the 3-range made it pretty safe to cast its ability and to buff everything. So that was very, very nice. And very, very strong. And so they nerfed this. And Tapu Koko is more vulnerable, so it's easier to be focused by your Pokemons because it's one row further ahead. And also it excludes itself from its ability, so it does not get the... Or was it an attack buff or speed buff? Forgot. But it doesn't get the buff. Tapu Bulu also doesn't get the buff anymore. So I think all the Tapus don't give that were like buffing your team don't buff themselves anymore. Which is fine, which make these units more of a supportive role and not a potential carry. So that's very nice, even though they were supportive units before, but they had carry potential. Now it's less carry potential. Tapu Lele gets a buff. Ability gets like needs less PP, and also the AP buff is doubled. So Tapu Lele also should feel better now, and should be played more, or you will want to pick it way more. In like what is it, Water Fairy? I think in Water it can be good now because it gives a good amount of buffs to your team, and your team casts their abilities like very often, so the 20 AP buff is pretty nice. So Kecleon and Arceus appear not that often anymore, so it's not 1 in 100 but 1 in 150 odds. So you will see Kecleon and Arceus less, which many people are probably happy about, because they don't like picking Kecleon on Arceus, because it can screw up your, especially Arceus can screw up your synergy balance, and you get the buff on the wrong synergy that you don't want, and so on and so forth. So was most of times anyways a pick out of necessity, and not, and like you had no other options. Drampa buff is pretty nice from 3 to 5. So this will maybe make Drampa playable or feel less weak. So we have to see how this works out, but this feels nice. Also, it can like increase by a lot. In late game, if you hit like 8 people, you get 40 AP instead of 24. So it's 16 more AP you get per cast in late game. Granted, you hit 8 units. Most of the times you just hit 3 or 4 units, but it's still a good increase from like 6 to 10 AP on average. It's still a pretty good increase. So next thing, changes to Pokemon Torterra line. So the Turtwig line is now a monster type. So it's now ground, grass, and monster. And it got the new ability Bulldoze. And the ability does, it stomps down on the ground, dealing special damage to adjacent enemies. Pokemon hit are knocked back and lose 10 speed. So it's a very tank-focused ability, which deals a bit of damage, but also reduces the speed of the frontliners, which is very, very great, because so many Pokemon have so much speed, and it's a very good unit against, and also a very good supportive unit against like wild teams, for example, that have like a huge amount of speed, or against electric that have also a lot speed. And also it makes ground monster also better. So there's more insensitive to play ground monster than you had before. Also to play maybe grass monster as well. That's pretty nice. So very nice change. It is a very tanky unit. It doesn't deal that much damage, so you will still build tank items on it. But very nice. So next we got to get to the abilities. There are also some changes. Stealth Rock and Stone Axe now also damage flying Pokemon. Before, flying Pokemon could basically fly over it. But like in the game, flying Pokemon should be not flying over it, but get some damage from the Stealth Rocks. Of course, in game, in the normal main series, Stealth Rocks even does double damage against flying Pokemon, so it was a bit weird that it didn't deal damage to flying Pokemon. Magma Storm, so Heatran's ability now propagates to several enemies at a time, and the propagation time is reduced. So this is, I think, a buff overall, because Heatran is very lacking. And it might be a buff or a change that makes it like more viable, or at least not as bad to pick if you play Steel or Fire. So that can be nice. Zapdos gets nerfed. Its ability that it got last patch was a bit too strong. So it gets nerfed a bit from 120 damage to 100, which is similar to the damage most legendaries damage dealer do. I think Zapdos, like with one cast, with one hit, I still think that Zapdos will deal more damage than most legendaries, but it should be fine. Grubbin line is also nerfed. It has a bit less HP, so it's less tanky. It has a bit less attack and more PP, so its attacking is also lowered. Again, a nerf to Electric, so Electric gets many small hits all over the field. So Electric will feel less strong at its peak. I think on average it's still pretty strong, but in its peak it's not as strong as it was before, like the best units were nerfed. The Porygon line also gets nerf for Porygon and Porygon 2, so a little bit less damage, especially Porygon. Porygon's damage was pretty huge, pretty strong. And now Porygon 2 also had a bit too much damage. But Porygon Z gets a huge buff. It felt underwhelming. To be honest, I played Porygon Z in a Smeargle Scribble like last stream. And it didn't feel like it could carry alone. And most of the times, Ultra units, if you got them to a 3-star, they still should be carrying alone, basically. You shouldn't be able to beat them that easily. So that's a very nice change. Let me go to the next. The bounce ability was changed, so the number of bounces no longer scale with AP, but the damage does. Which is, in my opinion, way better, because the 10 damage per bounce felt kinda minuscule, like he didn't really deal damage on a unit. You just were like hitting it lightly, you were just like throwing little like squishy balls at them. So now you can actually hit a lot of damage, deal a lot of damage, especially at like with 40 damage. Give it a Soldew on Mantine, and will probably deal a good amount of damage, or on Spoink, like give it a Soldew. It's psychic, So it's 80 damage plus Soldew or Psychics, or even more Psychic scaling. Very, very nice. And bounce duration is also the duration was increased. So it's instead of 400 milliseconds, 500 milliseconds. So I think that means the bounces are a bit slower, if I'm correct. But that's also fine. You deal way more damage. So that's very, very good. And also it makes... Before you had like these bounces and the Pokemon was bouncing around, it wasn't dealing damage really, but it wasn't also like not being attacked. Because it was bouncing like a lot and the Pokemon lose focus. So the Pokemons will attack the bouncing Pokemon more, but the bouncing Pokemon will deal way more damage. Like way, way, way more damage. So it feels more satisfying to play as well. And not more like a niche fun pick. A Chingling line gets a defensive buff, which is fine. I think Chingling was struggling last patches. It was still a decent unit, but Sound Synergy doesn't feel as good as it was, so giving it a bit more survivability so that it can cast its ability way more often is pretty nice. Binicle's ability Stone Edge, the damage is doubled, like the scanning is doubled from 50% to 100% of its defense. Does it gain as a physical damage on attack, so it can be now a pretty hard-hitting unit, I think. Especially if you go like full rock, like rock with a bit of water and give it a white lens or something. Or even without white lens, you can just play a very aggressive build. With Muscle Band, for example. Like a off-tank build, a bruiser build. Could also be possible. So I'm stoked to see if like Binacle is an option now to play. Solgaleo and Lunala speed get a speed buff. I think before they had like the Cosmog speeds only, which is very low. Like 37 is like 37 is nothing. Can't really build attack speed, like speed items on Solgaleo or Lunala. So that will make them a bit better. Not a bit better, but way better. And also maybe more playable, like more people will want to play it. So you have a better payoff for having like shit units or 10 to 15 turns or whatever. Turtonator's Shell Trap is now changed or either fixed, or rather fixed, so the damage isn't around the target anymore, but it's around the user, so it's explodes around Turtonator now, and not around the unit it was hitting. Which was sometimes very weird, because Turtonator was attacking like a frontliner, and then it explodes and the units in the second row were just exploding. Which was kind of frustrating from time to time, because in theory you were positioning right, but in actuality it was wrong, or you can't do anything about it because there's nothing you can do for your 2 range units. But now you can just put frontliners before Turtonator, and they can tank the ability and shield your backline better. Which is pretty nice. Also, Turtonator can now deal more damage to frontliners as well, which can also be nice for the dragons, so they can rush through the frontline easier. So it's on both sides better. So, changes to synergies. Monster is now, instead of Monster 9, there's Monster 8, the highest. And Merciless, so it's Merciless. So monsters always target the lowest health unit, and can target allies with less than 10% of their max HP. So they will not attack their your other Pokemons that often anymore, but will prioritize the low health target before them. But they can also kill your smaller monster Pokemon, so you have to be careful who you put your items on. So you shouldn't have your 2 or 3 monster carries or monster units next to each other that you want to have buffed up. So that you have space between them, so in case one of them gets low health, it isn't getting eaten, but instead it can still keep on fighting, because if you have a monster unit that is ramping up already and still has only 10% HP, it can still do a lot of damage, so you should be careful about killing your own unit. And also you could kill like an opponent's small Pokemon, target it, kill it, and heal up again. So you will sabotage yourself less on Monster 8 now than you did before on Monster 9. Yeah, Baby 5 now gives now lets your eggs hatch 1 stage earlier, so you are emphasized to stay in Baby 5 if you want to hatch your Pokemons very quick, which is a nice change if you want to play Baby 7 or something. So if you want to go full in Baby, I think it doesn't matter if you just go Baby 3, catch your first egg and play around your first egg, then you don't need to go Baby 5. Unless you want to speed up the process a bit and you are thinking that you will lose the fight anyways, or you might win the PvE rounds with the babies and therefore get your hatch Pokemon in 4 instead of 5. So it's maybe good in the last turn of the hatching, like in the 4th turn. What would have been the 4th turn? You put it in so it hatches on 4 and you can take out your babies. It's something you could do. I don't know how good it is, but we will see how people will experiment with this. The Dark Nerf in patch 5.9 is reverted a little bit. So the crit power is increased again to from 30, 40, 50 to 30, 60, 100. So your dark units actually deal damage now. The crit change isn't changed, so you still need black glasses a lot to get the crits in, but you actually deal damage when you crit. Whereas the 50% increase was a bit wasn't enough. So it changes to items. Many gourmet dishes have been buffed. So I'll go over it very quickly because the gourmet dishes didn't do that much last patch because no one was playing gourmet because it felt pretty weak for most people. So these might change the perspective on the gourmet items and the gourmet synergy. Because Rage Candy now gives 10 attack, which is very strong. T gives now 80 starting PP, which lets several Pokemon cast their ability in an instant. Like at the beginning of the fight, they will cast their ability, or like after a couple auto attacks. So that's very huge. Puffin now gives 100 shield, which is also very huge. I mean, it's double the amount of shield, so it's a good amount of shielding. Berry Juice gives 80 shields. It's also a good amount. I think it gives 80 shield per berry or something, was it? So that's also pretty nice. Fruit Juice, same. It gives more speed. It felt good before, now it probably feels better. The Sweet Herb now gives 80 AP, which is huge, which is a lot of AP. I previously thought that 50 AP was good. But 80 AP will feel very, very nice. So your Pokemon will probably deal a lot of damage, like a huge amount of damage. Hitting with the first ability, or like first abilities, and you get quicker through it. The league gives now 50% crit chance, which is nice. 30% felt a bit underwhelming, because you were barely hitting 50% crit chance with the league without any crit items, which felt not that good. With 50%, you are have like a guaranteed 50-50 chance, like above 50% chance even. So you will crit more often. That's pretty nice. A large league, 100% crit power, that's very nice because it's Galarian Farfetch that gives you the large league, and its ability gives a does like always crit. And like getting 30% crit power only was like not that good. It felt like very underwhelming, but 100% crit power with the guaranteed crit on Galarian Farfetch'd, as an example, is very, very nice. So it does double damage. Like, it does even more than double damage. And it's very, very good. It's very, very strong. So also, hello, Carrie. So, Guzzlord change. Guzzlord now gets 5 permanent AP when it kills a unit, but also gains 10 permanent max HP. So it's even more worth to give it the chef set now. And it feels maybe good to actually do that. Just before it was... I haven't played Guzzlord, to be honest, and I haven't seen any Guzzlords in my games. And I haven't seen anyone playing Guzzlord, to be honest. So, even in streams of other content creators or in videos or something. So Guzzlord, everyone was like on the same page that Guzzlord doesn't seem worth to pick. But now that might change because it can snowball like a lot. I mean, still got Gourmet, Dark, and the Monster synergy, and with the Monster synergy also changed and probably buffed by a good amount. It can be a very scary late game carry. That really can snowball a lot. But we have to see. But you also have to get lucky. Clover Sweet also gives now 10% luck instead of 5%. It's a nice increase. Gives you a bit more chance. I still think it's okay. It won't be like that impactful initially, like the first 10% aren't that initial boost aren't that impactful, but it can stack up a lot over time and very quick. So this can be scary if you get to ramp up, but otherwise it's I think fine. It's nice. The new artificial item, I'm pretty stoked about the new items. Because you get a Gourmet Synergy item, so it gives Gourmet Synergy, and when the cooking pot, and when burnt, the cooking pot is heated little by little, which gives 10 speed per second, so it's a very good item with Flame Orb, for example. So that's very nice. So you have another item that's synergized with Flame Orb. Also, it is synergized with like against fire. There's a little bit of a counter, maybe. Can give it like an Assault Vest, give the Cooking Pot to a Pokemon against fire Pokemons, or if someone plays Morello Nomicon, Pokemon Nomicon, I mean, not Morello, Pokemon Nomicon. So this could be a good, nice counter item, but also a very nice aggressive item. So the other new artificial item is Max Elixir. It restores 100% of max PP 1 second after the first ability cast, which I think can be huge. First, in TFT, there's a similar item that gives a lot of mana back after casting the first ability, and it was like pretty much broken a lot of times. So I think this artificial item can be broken, but also abilities in Pokemon Orchards are, for the most part, weaker than, or not even weaker. They're different. Let's say different, not weaker. They're different from TFT. So this can be scary. But I'm happy to see what it can do. What it might do. Especially on the backline carry. on like a heavy CC units in your front line, or on a supportive unit like the Tapus or something, this can escalate and make the games a bit quicker for like the fights a bit quicker for yourself, so you can ramp up easier, can get more damage out and everything. So that's a very nice item. The new special item, Picnic Set, immediately consumes is immediately consumed when given. Give sandwich to the whole and all adjacent allies. I mean, a sandwich gives stat boost for the next fight based on the types of the Pokemon eating it. So I don't know what stat boosts the different types of Pokemon get, but that can be potentially very nice. But we have to see how it pans out in the game, because it's always nice to theory about stuff like this, but I think it can be very, very good. Depending on how big the buffs are and what the buffs are. The new shiny item, Gold Bow. The holder does not count for team size, is very, very nice. So you can have a 10 Pokemon team instead of 9, which is pretty scary, to be honest. Especially in like an amorphous team, or like a team with amorphous access. But also like grounds or dragons in general. You can play 10 dragons now, and it's maybe even better than, arguably like very much better than having just the 7 dragons plus amorphous units in. Or you can just play the 7 dragons and do not need Gumi to play 3 amorphous. So this is very interesting, and gives like room for a lot of different nice comms. Especially in early game, you have a unit more and have like stronger early game, can win streak a lot, or get like to your level 9 synergies easier or quicker. So this bow seems pretty strong, but we will see. I think it will be pretty strong, and I hope it will make people think about their team building a bit more and be more creative. Also, this is very good for synergy hunting if you are looking for, like for example, the title with you need 12 synergies, 14 synergies or something activated at one time. This will make it a bit easier. But very, very nice. I think a lot of, like, everyone will love it to have it, and will be like very mad to like will be very, very mad if an opponent has it. But we will see how the perception of the item will be in the community. So now we get to the changes for the UI. This is just some stuff I don't understand really, like the anti-alias. I don't know what this is. But there's a zoom in and out option now, and drag to pan with wheels in game. So this is very nice. Game mode is now displayed in player game history. This is also very nice, so you can see if someone is playing quick play, rank, or not ranked, quick play, or other stuff like I think it shows if you are playing a ranked lobby, quick play, and maybe Smeargle Scribbles. So that's very nice, so you can see how casual someone is, or not, or how they got their elo. So if there's a quick play abuser or someone ranking up through ranked games, now you can know. There's a connection status indicator on the top left corner in case of connection issues. Okay, so you can now see if you're connected or not, or how stable your connection is. That's very nice. I think especially for people that have an unstable internet connection, or like live further away from the server, so they can see if they're even able to play the game, or if the internet is struggling, or if their internet is struggling, or their PC is struggling, so they even know what the problem is, or if the servers are struggling, because if your connection on the top left is decent, it could mean, or not decent, it could mean that your internet is unstable, all the servers are like a bit shaky. But it's nice to see. If I'm correct, I'm not an IT person. But it's nice to have. There are some bug fixes, some very important and good ones, and some that I think were necessary, but kind of sad that they happened. First of all, fossil Pokemon no longer regain their fossil resurrection effect after being revived from Sacred Ash. That was a nasty combo. If you played fossil, got a Sacred Ash as your shiny item, slammed it on the like on your fossil Pokemon, revived your fossil Pokemons, and they got like came back. You killed them again. They came again back with fossil, so they had like 5 lives or something. So that was disgusting. So you couldn't basically kill them. They would overwhelm you with like sheer stats. A Porygon getting the spotlight effect when holding light balls outside of the spotlight. That's a good fix. Permanent stat debuffs are now carried over evolutions. That's very nice. I think debuffs and buffs should always carry over when evolved. Otherwise, you could, especially the debuff thing, it was possible to abuse it, abuse the tech. I think with Velusa's gourmet item, it was you were able to lower your health of like your 1-star unit and boosting their I think it was the tech, and then you could evolve it, and then it had the highest stat boosts, but didn't have like the lowered HP. But now it carries over, so this isn't possible anymore. So you can't abuse this. I haven't seen it that often, or like only once. I think that someone did that, but it was something potentially very, very toxic in the future, so I'm glad they changed it already. Abilities triggering paralysis or locked now trigger the status before applying the damage, so that flying Pokemon cannot fly away from it. That's very nice, so the Pokemons will stay locked in place and do not fly away, even though you succeed them. So if I'm correct, there were some cases when you paralyzed the Pokemon, but because of the ability, they got underneath the thresholds, underneath a certain threshold. Is it 30% HP, I think? And then they would just fly away, especially flying 8. They would fly away, use their skydive, deal damage at your unit, even though they were paralyzed. So it was very annoying, very toxic, and there was like unlucky that your counter to the flying Pokemons wouldn't work. So that was very toxic and very unintuitive as well, because they should be locked in place. They should be staying there where they are and not fly away and deal damage to your units. So now that will probably not happen. Dragon bug Pokemon clones no longer count in the Dragon total stars bonus. However, the clone still receives the bonus, so Vibrava was always a must-have in Dragon comms because of that. Because you got extra bonus stars, total stars, so you got even more bonus on your Pokemons, on your Dragon Pokemons. And it was a nice thing to do, and something that every Dragon player abused. So I did as well. But now this isn't possible anymore, so Vibrava will be not a must-have. It's still very good, because it's an extra body you get with the extra stats that every Dragon Pokemon gets. But it isn't necessary anymore. So you can run other Pokemons if you like to. Like other Dragon Pokemons if you like to. Without like lowering your stat bonus you get on your Pokemons. So that's very nice. Changes to Elo Decay and Elo Gains. So the Elo Decay rules have to be reinforced to prevent Elo sitting. Currently the top, like the first rank 1 player is just sitting on their Elo. They are playing like one game every couple days. Like I think every 2 weeks it is even. or every 10 days or something. So they are really just sitting on their elo and just occupying the first spot without doing anything. And that's very bad. So elo decay now happens if not playing at least 3 games over the last 15 days, starting from Ultra Ball rank. These games must be ranked games to count. So this change will be May 5th. And this should help to prevent people from sitting at the top spot or even top 100. It mostly affects top 100. Or only top 100. I don't know which elo threshold Ultra Ball is right now from my head, but I think it's 1350. Or was it 14? I mean, it's a top 100 thing only, basically, I think. So people can't sit. There are people with multiple accounts in the top 100, and they are just sitting there playing a game every 10 days or something to just keep their elo, like their place in the ladder. So I hope this will minimize it and will not be an issue, or not that much of an issue. So people can actually strive to get first without abusing this stuff. Ranked games minimum and maximum ranks have been extended by 1 rank to allow more players to join ranked lobbies. This is also nice because higher ranked lobbies, people had to wait too long, and the skill difference shouldn't be too much, I think. So that's a very nice change. Also, it encourages players to join ranked lobbies a bit more, especially higher ranked players, like in a bit lower ranked lobbies. In games with an odd number of player elo losses for the player in the middle rank are now reduced by 50. So the 4th in 7 players, the 3rd in 5 players, and the 2nd in 3 player lobbies gets like only a very, very low amount of elo loss if they lose elo. So the elo gains stay the same. So you still gain the same amount of elo, but the elo loss for the middle of the pack person isn't that high anymore. So it doesn't feel that bad to get 4th in a 7-player lobby anymore. I mean, you still lose elo maybe, but instead of 10, it's only 5, so you can look over it. So then there comes the other stuff. Inactivity timeout in lobby room increased to 30 minutes, which is pretty nice, because from time to time I do some research or theory crafting in the client, like just in the lobby, in the main lobby. And now you do not get disconnected that easily. So you have more time to do that stuff. Or you have time to do some other stuff for a couple of minutes and come back without being kicked. It's a very nice quality of life change. Especially if like the player base, or like the current player base isn't at max capacity, so they can afford doing that. Stage 1, 2, and 3 preparation phases, so the PvE rounds 1, 2, and 3 are reduced to 20 seconds, so there isn't going on much anyways. So I think 20 seconds are more than enough time to do your stuff, like buying units, selling units, and putting your units in. First, you don't have to do much positioning or something, so that's totally fine. It also makes the games a bit quicker. Not that much, but the PvE rounds are the most boring stuff, so it makes it a bit quicker. Especially if someone is AFK in the early stages. So you don't have to wait an eternity to go through 1, 2, and 3, but it will be all very, very quick. Regions types changed to add some for Gourmet. That's very nice. So there are more options in for the Gourmet Pokemons in different regions. I like change the region so that some gourmet Pokemons are in that regions, in those regions. So that's the change. There will be Munchlax as an encounter. I don't know what Munchlax encounter is, but I also didn't want to look it up because I want to be surprised. And there's the new title. So for everyone who wants to go a bit for title hunting, you just have to have max synergy with Gourmet type in the game. So you just have to slot in 5 Gourmet Pokemon and you get a new title. Can be the chef now. So for all the cooks, especially I think Tech Baron will be happy about it, to be Chef Tech Baron. Do it all yourself. Scribble penalties balance adjusted for hedge and special avatars. That's fine. Because I don't know what the changes are. And it's Smeargle Scribble, so it's fine. Because it's a fun game mode and should be fun. Regional Pokemon sold in a region other than their original region are not added back to the pool. That's also nice because previously you were able to, for example, you had a Chimchar here on your bench and you got into a region where Chimchar isn't a regional Pokemon in. You could sell your Chimchar and then Chimchar would be in your champion pool and you could roll down for Chimchar still. And yet now you can't do that. So that's a nice change, especially because the other thing was also if you sold Chimchar and it was in your pool, you like increased the amount of 1-cost units in your pool, and it was harder for you to get the 1-cost units you actually wanted. So that's a very nice change. All board actions are no longer possible after play is eliminated, so if you are 0 HP, you can't put your items on your Pokemon anymore, or reposition your Pokemons anymore, or similar stuff. Which is kind of sad, because I liked doing that after games to show what I would change or do, or what I think might be the better play. But it's fine. And Blood Money Scribble no longer gives 1 gold for eliminating a clone or a spawn. So when you play, Bug, you don't get punished that much anymore when you're playing the Blood Money Smeargle Scribble. Whereas before, all your clones of the Bug clones would give 1 gold to an opponent, and now it doesn't. So playing bugs is now viable in Blood Money. So, and yeah, also, yeah, I could do just do the repositioning and changes in the team planner. That's true. That's true. That is something I could do, yeah. So there's an easy workaround. So it's not... And if it's easier for, like, the game to run and everything, it's way better. So I will not complain about that. And now we come to the new Pokemons. So the new Pokemons. Like, one of the new unique Pokemons is Charcadet, which is a fire baby Pokemon. And it's looking for an armor. The Auspicious Armor or the Malicious Armor. And its ability is just a dash through the opponents and dealing damage to all the opponents in the path. The more interesting thing is you get another option for babies, which is pretty nice. So you have more options there now, and could also have an easier pivot out if you like get a Cyndaquil, not a Cyndaquil, a Cinderace, I mean, or Tepig or something, and you want to go fire. So you can pursue fire with the Charcadet. And Charcadet's 2 evolutions are Armarouge and Cyrilledge. Armarouge is Fire Psychic. And it's a 2-range unit, so it's further in the back. And it shoots a projectile, dealing 70 damage to the target before bouncing to the 2 closest enemies, dealing 35 damage to each. Projectiles then return to the original target, dealing an extra 10 damage each. So it's a good unit to spread damage with. So it's not a hard-hitting unit into the front line, but it's good against like teams like that like to crowd their units, to corner their units, like for example normal or sound, or against teams with like a lot of clones, like bug teams, because you can deal a lot of damage to the small things. So that's very nice. Also, because it's Fire Psychic, it is now possible to actually play a Fire Psychic team with a good, with even a better carry than before. Even though Ninetales was a good carry, I think, but even you get even a better carry. It's even more possible to play Fire Psychic or Psychic Fire or whatever. And the other evolution, Cerulege, is Fire Ghost. It's frontliner, so it's way more tanky, so it has more attack. And it focuses bitter feelings into a slashing attack, dealing 70 special damage to every adjacent enemy. User heals 10% of its max HP for each enemy hit. So this is a unit that does slash before it deals 70 damage to everyone and gains for every unit hits 10% HP. Which is nice. It gives the possibility for Ghost to have a good frontline carry that isn't only tanky but can deal a lot of damage. Or for Fire to have a more tanky sustain frontliner. So this can be a very scary Pokemon in some cases, but it feels very nice. Also, it's dealing damage to adjacent enemy. Oh, so it's also not a good item holder for Wildlands, if I'm reading this correctly, because Wildlands should be working on it with the ability. Because it deals damage to every adjacent enemy of Cerulege, so if you give it a Wildlands and it's in the backline, it doesn't hit anyone. It does not hit anyone. It's just attacking around it, and there's no one. It's like with Charizard, for example. So be careful. Careful to do not put Wildlands on the Cerulege. So the next Pokemons, we got Duraludon, another new unique Pokemon. Duraludon is an it's a dragon steel Pokemon, which is looking for an artificial item, which you can get from a carousel or if you play artificial, because it's a steel unit, so it's definitely can find a place in your steel into your artificial comps. And then it will evolve into its next stage that I forgot to place in here. I'm sorry about that. But the ability is the same for both, so it gathers electricity for 2 seconds, then gains 40 ability power and fires a high voltage shot in a straight line, dealing 80, 90 or 100. The shot will be fired immediately under storm. So this Pokemon is a very weird Pokemon, to be honest. It seems like a very weird carry Pokemon, but very interesting. Because of the storm thing, I can see it being played in an electric steel comp, for example. Which can also fit dragons if you play the dragon electric legendary. You play Zekrom, you play Duraludon, and then you play like your normal electric Pokemons around it, so it can be very scary. It's very interesting, at least. I don't know if it's how well it feels for the 2-second delay between the ability cast and damage output, but it gets a huge boost in ability power, so We will see how this works out. Also, because you give it artificial items, it can fit in pretty much every artificial comp, if you like to. And then we have a new common Pokemon. It's Spirigatito. It's a grass, field, and dark unit, which are pretty interesting combinations. I mean, field dark is something you can already play a lot now, and now having grass dark as an even bigger option also is pretty nice, because before it was just C-Dot, but now you can play Spirigatito as well, so grass dark is a possibility now, and especially because both of those synergies you can build the stones for, so you are very versatile. It has a lot of attack speed, also has a lot of speed, so that's very nice. And grass field is also something you can look towards with like your field hedge, with the grass field hedge Swiper. Is it Swiper? A Serpy Royale or something. So that's also nice. Throws a rigged bouquet of flowers at the target that explodes after 3 seconds, dealing special damage to the target and adjacent enemies. Every critical hit received by the target during the duration adds 15 damage to the explosion. So this Pokemon even wants to be played in a dark comp. It's a ranged dark Pokemon. And if you fully evolve it into a Masquerade, I think is the name, it deals 85 special damage plus 15 damage per crit, so this is pretty nice. We got the next one is Pidoof. Pidoof, like already told, shares a spot with Starly and Pidgey, so they change depending on your region, which one of those 3 normal flying Pokemons you get. And Pidoof's ability is it flies away and lands in the backline. It gets sleepy for 2 seconds and heals for a certain amount of HP. This sounds pretty nice for more defensive or more stalling. Let's say stalling, not defensive. More stalling flying Pokemon, which is pretty nice. But it also, like, it's lacking damage, and just restoring health could also be pretty bad for the early game. We have to see how this works. Isui Gumi, Duraludon plus Dialga, Dragon Steel is real. Metal Coatex. Oh yeah, true. Yeah, you can go for... If you play those 4 dragons, you have like... Yeah, you have you have Steel 8 instantly. Oh, that can be scary, yeah. Okay, Dragon Steel can be scary. Or at least interesting. But that's something you can look out for. That's true. But here we come to the next Pokemon. So we got Roaring Moon, Dragon, Dark, and Fossil. Which means if you pick a legendary portal, you are not guaranteed to get Eternatus, but you are still getting a guaranteed legendary dragon if you pick a fossil portal. So if you play dragon and you can't find a dragon portal, or someone picks your dragon portal, you can still pick your fossil portal and get either Eternatus or Roaring Moon. So Dragon Portal is still, Fossil Portal is still Dragon's best friend. So Roaring Moon is a ranged carry, a free range carry, which is interesting. It's the first dragon with free range. No, it's Dragolch. But we got another free range dragon now. With a good amount of attack and good amount of speed. So it can be an attacking like an AD carry. And the user sheds their scales, dealing 40 physical damage to adjacent enemies, applying armor break to itself, and enemies hit for 2 seconds. After 2 seconds, the scales are shot towards the farthest enemy, dealing 30 physical to all enemies in their path. Oh, Drampa is also a free range unit. True, I forgot Drampa exists. Oh yeah, Roaring Moon seems to be a very interesting unit. I think the ability supports its purpose of a ranged AD attacker in Dragon, or Dark, or Fossil. So that's very, very nice. So you don't want to... you probably don't want to build AP on it, but like attack speed items, like an upgrade, which still gives you AP, but it's a speed item, so you give it something like an upgrade. Damage, like other damage items, like boxing gloves, punching gloves, red gem, or whatever attacking, or like maybe crit if you're playing Dragon Dark, for example. Can also give it crit items. So it will be hard hitting, like a very heavy hitting AD Dragon, I think. But I could be wrong, and AP is actually pretty good on it, but the numbers are too low for AP to work, I think. So its scaling isn't that good. I mean, Swordius may be the only good option, except upgrade with AP. That may be playable. So we come to the next Pokemon, Fomantis, which is Grass, Light, and Fighting. And that is something that I really like, because I like Grass Fighting. I like that there are Grass Light Pokemon. So you can combine Grass, Light, and Fighting. So you can play Grass team with Fighting and Light. And this is so interesting and so nice. I think there's like a lots to do with this. So you can play Fomantis with your Grass Fighting Pokemons you can get. Plus your Cherubi, that is Grass Light. Which is a very good supporting grass unit. So you can go 7 Grass, Light, plus Fighting. And just fill your team with more light Pokemons, for example, or more Fighting. Or you can play early game with Fighting and late game with Light, so you have a lot of flexibility. That's very nice. So its ability is Solar Blade. It gathers light and fills the blade with its energy for 2 seconds, or instantly if the user is in the light spot. It slices up to 3 Pokemon in a cone in front of the user, dealing 30 or 60 true damage. So, Fomantis again, not a White Lens user, because it attacks the Pokemons in front of the user, so in front of Fomantis. So it's just directly in front of Fomantis, so not a good White Lens user, or no White Lens user. 30 or 60 true damage is also very, very nice. I like that. I don't know how I mean, I like the theming that it needs to gather solar light to attack, or like B2 needs to be in the light spots to attack directly. So it can be a pretty decent frontline carry, it feels like. Especially, I think it can be pretty decent against very tanky Pokemon, because it got true damage, and it attacks in a cone, so you attack multiple Pokemons in a cone, dealing them true damage. So that's pretty nice. And we will see how this will be, or if it's just a unit that seems to be very fun, seems to be very nice, and isn't that good. Roaring Moon, played it yesterday a couple times. He's good. I think it's honestly just another Dragon Beatstick, but Dark has potential with Reaper Claw, Scope Lens. I don't know if Reaper Claw is good on Roaring Moon. I think Reaper Claw doesn't seem to be good. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I think it could be very good in Dragon Dark, or just Dark. Yeah, I know it's back to 100% crit, but... I mean, like I said, I don't know if it's really that strong or not. We have to see. It could be another Moltres, Galarian Moltres situation, but I don't think it's that bad or that good. But I would like to test it as an ranged AD carry. And then there is the last one on the page, Tynamo. Tynamo is a Pokemon I think is really, really interesting because it's electric aquatic amorphous. And I think giving electric access to amorphous is something funny because Raichu got nerfed, but I think Alolan Raichu, you could still play Alolan Raichu with now Light and Amorphous. Possibly. It's possible. I don't know if it's like a good play, but because Alolan Raichu gets like has good synergy with Psychic Pokemons and Fairy Pokemons that have also access to Amorphous units. And Tynamo being an electric Pokemon, it could be very, very nice. I mean, you don't... Tynamo, Musharna plus Rheonculus, yeah, it's a possibility, but I think you don't have to play 7 electric necessarily. You could just play 5 electric, Amorphous, and Light. That's an option. Or even 3 electric, Light and Amorphous, or some variation. And I think Alolan Raichu is still pretty good. It's not like broken, I hope, but it's still pretty good because it's pretty tanky still, especially with Light and then with Amorphous. And with the extra speed, it gets its ability quicker. It deals a bit more damage. It doesn't get like the damage numbers it had before, but it's still possible to play. And if there is like a consistent way to play Raichu this way, Alolan Raichu this way, then you still might see if someone is in a Alolan Raichu region that they will try to spam this and play it. But we will see. Maybe it's just something in my head and it's not that good in actuality, because you need a couple specific units to make it actually pretty good. But we will see. We will see how good it is. And that's it. That's all the changes. Yeah, especially I hope you guys enjoyed the little presentation and the patch rundown. I know it's not like the most in-depth, and it's just mostly me looking at the changes and rambling about it, but I hope you still enjoyed it, learned a bit what the changes are, and got some crazy ideas what you can do next, like this current patch now. And see you in the next video. Bye bye.